Part 1. The beginning. They say there is nothing more terrible than a mother's anger. They are lying. The only thing more terrible is a mother's cold-bloodedness, that dead calm, when love burns out to the ground, leaving only ashes and impeccable calculation. My children, David and Emily, decided that I was an old, useless asset, an apartment in a prestigious area of Chicago that could be sold profitably, and the old woman herself could be written off as scrap. Their plan seemed ideal: a one-way cruise, a fake certificate of memory problems, a touching farewell dinner. They thought they were sending a meek sheep to the slaughter. Naive, I heard everything. I saw everything. I understood everything. Part 2. Exposure. 3 weeks ago, I accidentally saw Emily at the office of a famous specialist in age-related changes. In her hands was a blue folder with my name, Margaret Anderson, outpatient card. At that moment, something broke inside me. Not anger, clarity. Cold as a scalpel, I called an old friend, Jonathan Carter, a former professor of economics. "We're launching our project," I said. His voice on the other end of the line sounded calm. "Come over. Let's get to work." Part 3. Preparation. Jonathan became the architect of my retribution. Here's our plan. 1. Real estate. Will sell the apartment through a Swiss investment fund quickly, without a trace. Point 2. Finance. Will transfer all funds into protected assets, government, bonds, and cryptocurrencies. Keys only on a physical medium. Point 3. Legend. My disappearance must look exactly as they planned. This is the point of no return, Jonathan warned. I just smiled. The path back leads to the abyss. I only go forward. Part 4. Execution. They themselves gave me the perfect script. I just had to play my role to the end. The fourth point, the most important one, safety. I had to disappear for real. Not only for them, but for the whole world. Lie low. Wait. For them to make their move. I looked at this list, and instead of the usual pain and longing, a new, unfamiliar feeling was born in my chest. A sense of control. For the first time in many years, I did not go with the flow of their desires. I myself was building a dam. I was changing the course of the river. I thought it would break me completely. Naive, it did not break me. It forged me anew. From the soft, pliable clay of motherly love, a cold, sharp blade emerged, and this blade was ready to inflict its blow. On the day of departure, I burned the tickets in the fireplace. On the ashes, it was still possible to read An Unforgettable Journey. Irony. The first days in the shelter, Jonathan's old house, I enjoyed the silence. I read books. I slept for 10 hours, and a week later, they came to the real estate agency. David, in an expensive suit, played the worried son, while the screen showed Owner Europa Invest Fund. Their faces at that moment became the best reward. Part 5. The collapse of their plans. Eyes smiled bitterly. The trip really promised to be unforgettable, especially for my children. Now you will learn the truth that will shock you to the depths of your soul. Get ready. The first week of freedom. The first days I enjoyed the silence. Walked along the pine forest, read books that I had not managed to read in the last 30 years, slept 10 hours a day. I didn't think about them. I knew they didn't think about me either. They gave me time to get lost. Jonathan Carter called once a day, strictly on schedule. The money has been successfully withdrawn. It has dissolved in the world financial ocean. My fortress was built. The moat was dug. The bridges were raised. I waited for the assault. The assault began exactly 8 days after my departure, just as Jonathan had predicted. David and Emily were sitting in the conference room of an expensive real estate agency. In front of them, aromatic coffee in porcelain cups. They were dressed to the nines and were acting out a play, grief-stricken, but responsible children. "You see, our mother was always peculiar," David told the realtor, "and recently her condition has worsened. Here are all the medical records." Emily tragically rolled her eyes. "We're so worried about her. She left on this cruise without even saying goodbye. Her phone is off. We have to take matters into our own hands." She put the blue folder on the table, the one from Professor Arkadev. The realtor nodded sympathetically, checked the database, and frowned. "Sorry, but there's an error. According to the register, this apartment has already been sold." Silence. "What's sold?" David turned pale. "She couldn't have done it without us." But the screen clearly showed Owner, Closed-End Investment Fund, Europa Invest. underscore real time. Crush it was like a car crash in slow motion. 1. They flew out of the agency. 2. Emily screamed at David, waving her arms. You missed it all. 3. David, pale, with trembling lips, unsuccessfully called me again and again. Subscriber unavailable sounded like a death sentence for them. The call that changed everything that same evening. David was sitting in his office. His business, his status, all this was based on the promise of money from my apartment. The phone was ringing off the hook. I was distracted by calls from my angry sister and creditors. He threw it on the table in a rage, and immediately the phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Hello, he hissed. Silence, and then my voice. Hello, son. It seems you have problems with real estate. Silence. I heard him choke. Mom, his voice broke. Where are you? We are going crazy. Enough of the farce. David, I answered icily. I take it you have already seen the new status of the apartment. The mask came off. What have you done? He shrieked. This is our inheritance. Inheritance is received after death. I retorted, and I, as you can see, am alive. And I disposed of my property as I wished. Here, Emily, hysterical, joined the conversation. Mom, you're destroying our families. Do you have a heart? Old manipulation. It would have worked before, but now inside me was not a lump of nerves, but a cold stone. Your financial risks are your problems. Emily, you should have diversified your assets. You're not a mother. You're a monster, David hissed. Your mother died the day you sent her on a one-way cruise. I answered, and I'm just the executor of her will. Pause. Don't call anymore. If I want, I'll call you myself. Click. Silence. I was sitting in the new house. The pine trees rustled outside the window. Their world was collapsing. My world had finally found order. Part 6. The finale. About a month passed. The phone was silent. The law was deceptive. I knew it was just a pause before the decisive battle. I had gotten used to life in a small house. Morning gives gardening, afternoon gives reading books, evening gives sorting through old photographs. By the fireplace I was finally doing what I should have done a long time ago, taking inventory of my life. Their visit. They arrived on Saturday evening. I was sitting on the veranda with a cup of tea when dust from a black car rose up along the country road. My heart didn't skip a beat. I simply put the book down and waited. David and Emily got out of the car. They looked terrible. David, haggard, with dark circles under his eyes, an expensive jacket hanging on him like on a coat rack. Emily, without makeup, with a face swollen from tears. They looked like bankrupt aristocrats. I didn't move. Scene of repentance. They expected screams, reproaches, hysterics, but my cold calm disarmed them. David fell to his knees in the dust. Mom, forgive us. We were blind, ungrateful creatures. He crawled towards me, trying to grab my hand. I pulled it away. Emily stood behind, covering her face with her hands. It was a performance. The last act, revelation. We'll get it all back. David choked. I'll sell the car. Jessica will sell the jewelry. We'll pay you alimony. Just forgive me. I was silent, letting him speak out, and then he uttered the fatal phrase. You'll give us at least some of the money, right? Just for the first debts. Bingo. His tears were not remorse, but fear of creditors. My answer. I stood up slowly. Yes, I left something for you. A glimmer of hope crossed David's face. He thought I would bring money, but I returned with a small carved box. He opened it with trembling hands. There was only ashes inside. This is all that remains of your childhood photographs and my memories. I burned them. Your only inheritance. Now get off my land. After they left without a word. I remained on the porch, breathing in the cool air, not triumph, not hatred. Only great relief, as if a wet sheepskin coat that I had been wearing for 68 years had been thrown off my shoulders. Finale. A year passed. I sold my old house, moved to a seaside town and opened a second-hand bookstore with a coffee shop, Quiet Harbor. My life now, aromatic coffee in the morning, conversations about books with customers, the sound of the surf outside the window. I was no longer an ATM, a nanny, a function. I became just myself. The last letter. One day, the postman brought an envelope, a letter from granddaughter and Emily's daughter. Grandma, I know everything. I'm ashamed of them. Can I come? Just to hug you, I cried. But these were tears of light. underscore the last lines asterisk. They say that forgiving is the lot of the strong, and I think that sometimes strength is saying enough in time and taking back what is yours. I'm almost 70, and for the first time in my life, I don't owe anyone anything. And you know what? It's the best feeling in the world.